Well, it's been the biggest, as I said, story of the week. And now a former SAS member close to Ben's Robert Smith has noted in this exclusive statement to Sky News the following. The headlines now being run by the media are once again not presenting the facts, but are deliberately misleading their readers and viewers. Given the further biased media coverage, it will make it extremely difficult for Ben Robert Smith to get a fair trial in any potential criminal proceeding when it occurs. Noting, of course, that he has not been charged with any wrongdoing. Lawyer and former Army officer Glenn Kolomeitz has written a paper on this very point, and that Ben Robert Smith has not been, as we know, charged nor found guilty of anything. And Glenn joins us now. Glenn, thanks for your time. We had the Brereton report, of course, stated in writing that the Australians in command in Afghanistan who were based in Dubai should be absolved of any blame for war crimes, but that's not actually true, is it?
No, that's not true, Steve. In fact, Major General Brereton gave the higher command, so the commanders of the task force in Dubai, a blanket exemption from command responsibility on the basis of a fundamentally flawed application of both the law and the command structures in the Middle East. And as you touched on, my 110,000-word doctoral thesis proves that. So, mate, the higher commanders do have responsibility. At least they need to be investigated for their command responsibility in this. They can't just be ignored. There's no blanket exemptions in this country.
Glenn, we saw Angus Campbell in Senate estimates this week, and he took great umbrage at questioning from, I think, Malcolm Roberts from One Nation. He seems very uncomfortable when confronted by any of this.
Yeah, you're right. I was actually there in the Senate for that sitting, and I noticed three of the senators tested the Chief of Defence Force very well on this, and he was very uncomfortable. His responses were evasive, to be honest, and look, that itself is unacceptable. But I think he must know that that he was the commander of Joint Task Force 633 at the time of some of the most serious allegations, and they're only allegations at this stage. But he was in command, so the ball rolls uphill, not downhill to the private soldiers, uphill to the commanders. And General Angus Campbell is party to that requirement to investigate.
Glenn, in the background, while the Ben Robert Smith trial has been unfolding in the federal court, you've of course had the Brereton inquiry continues. At what stage is that at, and have they been waiting for some outcome in this defamation case before they take the next step?
Look, Brereton was wrapped up and its report was handed down, but it was subsequently referred to the Office of the Special Investigator for criminal investigation now, which, to be honest, as a former military prosecutor, that should have happened as soon as there was a suspicion. You don't play around with administrative inquiries. But regardless, the Office of the Special Investigator apparently gave evidence in estimates this week, and apparently the investigations are ongoing. That may still well have a long way to go, Steve. And it's been a number of years now, and the longer this justice delayed is justice denied, right? So the longer this goes on, the more impact it'll have on the members themselves and the Australian Defence Force more broadly, to my view.
Well, I heard you say earlier that this goes all the way back to 2016. I mean, how can it possibly take that long? And what concerns me really here, and I've had a little bit to do with a number of veterans over the years. I mean, if you're one of those people who has a shadow hanging over them, how mentally do you cope with that, and how long it's lasted for?
Steve, I can't say too much. I've had a couple of clients who were had some involvement in this process, and I will say they have both they have some mental health issues both prior to being involved in this process and as a result of this process. So indeed, Steve, you're probably aware one of my clients took his own life after giving evidence. He was a courageous commando, and he came forward and then took his own life. So look, there are some tragedies arising from this entire process. So at some stage, I think the Attorney General must make the decision. He has to give consent to any war crimes charges. So the decision must be made to either charge people or to suspend this process.
I just don't understand, Glenn, how people can sleep at night in Defence Command knowing these things are happening to these people. It's just disgraceful.
Well, I agree. We can't ignore allegations of war crimes. We can't criticise the Russians on one hand in Ukraine and then ignore it here. And we're not ignoring it here. But what we are ignoring is the responsibility of the commanders. And I was a soldier before I was an officer, mate. And you know what? Command responsibility is a very important thing generally, let alone in this criminal context. This this command and control of forces in combat, and they are seriously hiding behind that blanket exemption provided by Major General Brereton, and that is disappointing. They should be coming forward and saying, well, look, let's look at this. Angus Campbell himself said he conducted the command accountability review of those officers, including himself, which was described at estimates as him marking his own homework. So, and nothing to see here, of course. So, it's like something out of a third world country, out of a despot nation, mate. It's really disappointing.
Well, thanks for your service and the great work you're doing, and thank you for joining us tonight. That's Glenn Kolomeitz there.